Okay, welcome today to this edition of the 10X Business Owners Mastermind Group Call. This call happens every single week at a different date and time so as to be flexible for everybody's schedule. You can definitely count on it every single week in the 10X Mastermind Group podcast channel, which is where you can subscribe to it on a weekly basis. And I guarantee you every single week I'm going to be dropping value bomb after value bomb after value bomb. So on today's call, we're going to talk about how to create freedom in your business, how to literally create enough leverage and systems and processes and all that stuff in place to guarantee you, the business owner, that you get your freedom of both time and money. And I'm coming from a place of experience because over the last 27 years, I've built 7 different businesses, and 4 of them I was able to create and build to a point where I was able to only invest about 5 to 10 hours a week into that business. In fact, when I wasn't around, the business actually thrived and grew. So I'm going to share with you step by step on today's call exactly how to go about doing that. So before I get started, I want to make one huge announcement. In November of this year, I'm going to start a 6-month coaches and consultants training program. It's going to be a mentorship program, a mastermind group, if you will. And it's going to kick off with a 2 full-day workshop for coaches and consultants. We're going to have a check-in call once a month, a private Facebook group, and literal step-by-step instructions on how to build your coaching and consulting business. Now, why am I doing that? There's a lot of programs out there to teach you how to be a coach, and this is not one of them, just so we're clear. This workshop, this mentorship program is specifically designed for those coaches and consultants that really just can't seem to get their business to that next level. So if you're not making a 6-figure income, a 7-figure income as a coach or consultant, this could be the big game changer in your business. I know, because I started my coaching and consulting business on December 2nd, 2013, built it to a 6-figure income in about 4.5 months, and went on to train over 125 coaches to do the same. And I'm going to teach you step by step how to do that. So that was 125 one-on-one clients that I was able to help build massive coaching and consulting businesses. Because the one thing missing in the marketplace right now is there's lots of programs out there to teach you how to be a coach. There's lots of programs to teach you how to, consult people and that sort of thing. But not a lot of training on there on exactly how to market, how to sell, how to build a business side of a coaching and consulting business, how to make it profitable, more importantly, how to repeat that success. Now, all of us have heard that most coaches and consultants make their money by coaching other coaches, and it's true. However, I remember the day that somebody told me that, and all of my clients at the time were coaches. I'm like, I'm guilty of it, right? So over the next 6 months, I got rid of every single coach that I had, except for one, and started consulting other business owners in lots of different business categories just to prove the fact that I know exactly how to build a 6-figure coaching and consulting business with other clients other than coaches. And I'm going to teach you exactly how to do that in this mentorship program. Now, through various podcasts, through various webinars, through various mastermind groups and podcasts, have been successfully able to train over 300 coaches and consultants in the last 3 to 4 years. And this program is definitely going to be something that you want to participate in. So if that interests you, if you're open to that, what I want you to do is I want you to go to my website at johnpyron.com. I want you to click on the button called Book Appointment. And I want you to find an appointment slot that you and I can have a 10 to 15-minute conversation about your business, about your coaching and consulting business, because I'm only going to allow 12 people in this program, and I'm going to be very specific about who those people are. You need to have a coaching and consulting business already running. You need to be active in that. You have to have the desire to grow that into a 6-figure or higher business, and you got to want to help a lot of people, because that's what we do as coaches and consultants, is we make an impact in one person, and then ultimately it branches out into thousands and millions of people. And that's where my heart and passion is to fill this gap in the space of how to actually build the business side of it. So again, if that interests you, go to johnpyron.com, book an appointment. I'd love to chat with you for 10 to 15 minutes. Okay? All right. Let's move on to today's topic. And I'm going to share my screen here. And let's go here. Boom. Minimize that. This. And expand that. Okay. So how do you create freedom in your business? How do you literally generate leverage in your business? How do you look at your business? And this could be a business that you already have, that's already in existence. I mean, I've got clients that are $3.5, $4 million a year in revenue, and they're at a point in their business. I got one client that's been in business for 40 years. And the owner is like, hey, I want to be able to get out. I want to be able to transition out and have you mentor and train my son to take over. I don't know how to do that. And I don't have the systems in place to be able to do that. And so one of the reasons, the key reasons for hiring me as a consultant is to come in and fix those systems and create processes and procedures and employees and mentor his son and create a situation where he can literally walk away from the business and the business will stay intact and become more profitable without him. Good news is now he's down to 4 days a week, and by the first of the year, he's going to be down to 3 days a week, and then by March, he's going to be down to 2 days a week, and successfully, he will be literally able to walk away from that business in this next year. And so all of us that are business owners, there's two types of business owners. There are what Robert Kiyosaki talks about, the S quadrant business, which stands for self-employed business owner. And you can have lots of employees and still be classified as an S quadrant business. Then there are those people that are called a B quadrant business, and that is a business that doesn't require your time or energy or effort to run and maintain. And that's what we're going to be talking about how to do today, how to get your business from an S quadrant business to a B quadrant business in the shortest amount of time possible. And the first step in that is to begin with the end in mind. Sit down and ask yourself this: 2 years from now, 3 years from now, 5 years from now, what does my business look like? How many employees do I have? How much revenue do I have coming in? How much personal income do I want to put in my pocket and not have to show up on a daily basis? You should be able to create a business that you can literally walk away for a whole month and come back, and that business should have done more business while you were gone than the day that you left. Reminds me of a client of mine, Kira. She owns a $4.5 million company in Oakland, California. And 2 years ago, she came to me and she said, you know what? I've been in business for 22 years, and I love my business. I love my employees. The average employee has been with me for 15 years. And she had 23 employees at the time. So that meant there were people there that had been there for 20 years, people that had been there for 10, people that had been there for 15, 18, and so forth. Here was the biggest challenge. She was making money hand over fist. Money wasn't the problem. Lifestyle wasn't the problem. Okay, she wanted to go away to France for an entire month and not have to think or worry about her business. And she wanted to do that 2 or 3 times a year. And so I said, okay, well, here's what it's going to cost for you to work with me. And here's the one thing that's required is you have to have an open mind and a willingness to work your tail off. Are you willing to do that? She said, yeah. And I said, number 2 qualification, I have to get involved in every single aspect of your business. I'm going to interview every single employee. I'm going to find out where the weaknesses are. What part of this business requires your attention? Why is it that you can't unplug and walk away? You have a great team, right? They've been with you for a long time, right? She said, yeah. I said, you're going to have to give me the flexibility and the authority to do that. Can you agree to that? And she said, yes. And so we began to work. And one of the first things I did is I told her to make 4 lists. I want you to make 4 key lists. And I'm going to type them out here so you can see them. So the 4 lists are, go back to here. First list, what are all the things you do in your business? Second list, what are the that you are not great at and don't want to do? Third list, what are the things on list number 2 and want to do more of? Finally, the third list, what on both of those lists number 2 and 3, because you should have all the items from list number 1 divided out into list number 1 and 2, what are the items that we can outsource, delegate, or automate? And those are 4 key lists. So if you have an existing business, an established business right now, you're going to want to do this exercise right away. You're going to want to do this for yourself, and you're going to want to have all your key managers and all your key people do this exact same exercise. And this is extremely important. We got to begin with the end in mind. We got to have a foundation to build from. And I'm going to talk more later on about what to do with these 4 lists. Next is we're going to have to assess all employees. And we're going to use an assessment tool. Now, I use TTI, Target Training International out of Scottsdale, Arizona. It's specifically designed for coaches. Okay, specifically designed for coaches and consultants. So if you're a coach or a consultant, you want to reach out to TTI International out of Scottsdale, tell them John Pyron referred you, so I'm going to get a benefit for that, and you're going to get a discount for that as well. But basically, it's going to measure 5 different areas. Behavior is going to be 1. The top 25 competencies that people need to have for the job role that they have. The most important one is their top 4 driving forces, and it's going to measure 12 driving forces. And this is what drives an individual. This is what, when I'm structuring their role, when I'm structuring their work, I'm looking at the driving forces. Am I giving them more of the work that they're great at, that they want to do more of? And what I find in going into most companies, in fact, every company I've gone into, there's usually 1 or 2 employees that are either a manager or they're an employee, a key employee, and they're in the wrong seat on the bus. And it's driving the owner nuts, and the owner can't figure out why they can't get more out of this person. Well, if you understand what drives that individual, you have the ability to figure that out. The 4th assessment that you can do is if you find that an employee is adjusting their behaviors. So the report's going to give you what their natural behavior is and what their adapted behavior is. And let me give you an example of what I am talking about here. So go here. I'm going to stop sharing for just a second because I don't want to reveal any confidential information, but I'm going to give you an example of exactly what I'm talking about when it comes to an assessment. Okay, so let me share this screen again and share. Okay, all right, so this is my assessment. This is the assessment that was done on me in September of last year. And basically, this particular assessment is going to measure driving forces, behaviors. It's going to measure emotional intelligence, and then it's going to blend all of them. And so what it does is it goes through, gives us general characteristics of a person, what the value they bring to the organization, checklists for communicating. Now, if you're a manager, this is very key because if you have this information, and the ability to, hey, you know what, when I'm going to communicate with Joe or Mary or Sally, this is how I should communicate with them. And so by running this assessment, we're going to give this assessment to them, and they're going to identify the 3 or 4 statements on here that are pet peeves for them. And that's going to give you that key, that lock to unlock their mind when you're communicating with them. How many of us have communicated with our employees and it feels like it's going in one ear and out the other? Does that happen to anybody besides me, right? So this is going to give us the key to where when we approach them, and the key to getting your freedom in your business is you want people that of all kinds of different behaviors, because you need to fill in your weaknesses in order to have your freedom. And so by understanding that an individual needs to be communicated in a certain way, and it's our job as a manager, as an owner, to communicate to them in the method they like to be communicated to, not the other way around. Once we accept that and let our ego down and embrace that, you're going to be amazed at how much more you're going to get out of your employees. Now, it also has a section on ways not to communicate to them. Like if you really want to not get results out of them, if you really want to piss them off, do this. Okay, so it's going to give you that information as well. It's going to give you communication tips, how to communicate to this person. It's going to tell you, okay, how they perceive themselves, how others perceive them, how others perceive them when they're really upset. Then there is a factor called an absence of a behavioral factor. When they have a low score in one of these columns, what does that actually mean? It means something, because all of us have all 4 behavior traits, not just one. And this is the biggest mistake that most coaches and consultants make, is they think that they can judge somebody based off of one behavior style, and they miss the boat. And I'm going to tell you from personally, I've done over 1,000 of these assessments and debriefs, and I'm going to tell you with beyond a shadow of a doubt, when you pigeonhole somebody into one type of behavior, it's a big mistake. And so the good thing about having the behavior, it gives me about a 53% view of a person. Now, 53% is a lot more than 50, but it's not 100. And so I'm going to show you how to get even more of an accuracy on that person. And basically, it summarizes behavior. Okay, on the dominant scale, what is important? What is their behavior trait there? On the influencing scale, what is their behavior trait? On the pace and consistency scale, what is their behavior trait? On the compliance, rules, regulations, processes, sticking to a process or procedure, what is their behavior? It's going to give you all that information. And then it's going to say, okay, here's how they are naturally, and here's how they adapt. Then it's going to go on to, what does their adaptive style mean? What are the potential time wasters that your employee has? If you find that your employees are wasting time in these areas, it gives you what the possible causes are, what the possible solutions are. Then it goes on to give you, okay, here's the areas of improvement. This allows you, the manager, the owner, to create a plan on how you can help that employee improve. Because if you think about it, our job as an owner, I changed my title from Chief Executive Officer back in 2006 when I started doing this type of stuff. It used to be Chief Executive Officer, and I had status, man. I was the Chief Executive Officer. And my buddy Phil Bristol came in and he said, you know what, you're the problem, not your employees. And you need to change your title to Chief Encouragement Officer, not Chief Executive Officer, and start working to understand your employees and how you can help them succeed. And it was the biggest game changer. My profitability went from 10.3% net profit to the bottom line to well over 35% net profit to the bottom line in less than a year, because of this one change right here. And it can happen for you. Next, it's going to break down their behavior based off of what is their top behavioral strengths. Then it's going to go into where do they fall on this? And what I'm looking for here, is there a big adaptation? So a natural style is natural behavior. Adaptive style is them under pressure or at work. And when you look at mine here, this is mine. I'm basically adjusting my behavior here, here, and here when I'm at work. So naturally, I am here, okay? When I come to work or I'm in a work situation or business situation, I'm adapting my behavior. Well, I want to know why. I want to know why an employee is adapting their behavior. And if they're having to adapt their behavior too much, I'll tell you from experience, if you continue to allow them in that role and giving them that type of work, they're going to get burned out. They're going to put their resume out. You're going to have turnover. But more importantly, you're not going to get all the potential out of them that you can possibly get because you don't have this information. And then it's going to go into, okay, where do they fall on this scale? Are they an implementer, an analyzer, a conductor, a supporter, a relator, a promoter, a persuader? You know, where do they fall on that scale? Now, why is this important? Let me show you. So this is the chart. And let me put this in presentation mode. And so if I know where they fall on this behavior scale, I'm going to know that if they fall in this area here, they would make a great technician or an engineer. If they fall in this quadrant, they would make a great lead engineer, operations manager, project manager, or service manager. If they fall in this quadrant, they're going to make a great salesperson. If they fall in this quadrant, they're going to be great at marketing. They're going to love marketing. If they fall in this quadrant, they're going to be great admin staff, service coordinator, warehouse staff, any type of support position. And so by having this information, it's going to allow me to have a more effective hiring process and not waste time on people that are not going to be a fit. But more importantly, when you go to analyze existing employees, it's going to tell you instantly, this is why this person's a jerk. This is why this person doesn't seem motivated. This is why this person just can't seem to get their documentation together. This is why this person, is terrible at marketing. Okay, it's going to give you the roadmap to put them in a better position, because I don't know about you, when I look at employees, if I have somebody that's with me, I am more focused on how I can fit them into my organization versus getting rid of them. Too many business owners out there operate from the standpoint of, you know what, you can be replaced. And I'm going to tell you right now, if that's your attitude, you got an attitude. You need to do a checkup from the neck up, because if you ever want to get your freedom, you're going to only get there when you have great employees on staff, not good employees. And great employees are made and trained over time, and good employees will cost you a crap ton of money. So this is going to give you the information that you need. Then it gets into driving forces. What's important to a person? Tells you what is important to them, and then it breaks it out into 12 different areas. It says, okay, these are the primary driving forces. These are situational, meaning I can adapt. These are indifferent. And I'll tell you this, if any of you have conflict between employees or between managers and employees, you need to go here, because chances are they have indifferent driving forces that are in conflict with that other person's primary driving forces, and as a result, they're both interested in different things. Does that make sense? And so we get into primary driving forces, we need to know, what is the work that I need to feed this person in order to promote their primary driving forces? What is that work? How can I give them more of this work? So they're excited. They're excited to come to work. It's when you tailor make that job to a person's driving forces, do they get fired up about coming to work? I just onboarded 2 clients. One of them has 19 employees, and one of them has 16 employees. And after going through a debrief with every single one of them, I discovered in one company, 3 employees that are, we need to do some change or modification, or we need to find a replacement. The other company found 2. One of them happens to be a manager, okay? And we need to make those changes. So, it's very valuable information to have, okay? And it helps you create a stellar team. Now, what do the driving forces mean? It measures knowledge. How does a person deal with knowledge? How are they at utility? How are they at their surroundings? Others, power, methodologies. It gives us that DNA information. And by adding this assessment, we can get an 86% view of the individual. Now, How does TTI know this? Well, they're the oldest and most accurate assessment company on the planet. And they assess millions of people every year, and they have unbelievable tools to do this. Now, it goes into another section of potential behavior motivational strengths. So it takes the behavior and the driving forces and combines them and says, if you give this person this type of work and leverage these strengths, this person is going to be unbelievably happy and a great employee. And that's what we want. Again, great employees make us money. Good employees cost us money. And our job as a CEO, our job as a manager is to train, motivate, mentor, and help them become great in their natural talents and not just replace them. Okay? So it also talks about potential conflicts. Then it goes into the ideal environment. So if you want to create the ideal environment for this employee, this is the environment that you need to focus on creating for them. And if you do that, this employee is going to thrive. This employee is just going to be unbelievably productive. And unbelievably productive means profit. Now, there's a company I took on last year in October, and it's an IT managed service company. And I went through every single employee there, and I had to get rid of the CEO, and I had to get rid of the salesperson because they were not a fit for the company at all. Couldn't even modify, couldn't even put them somewhere else because they just were not a fit. They should have never been hired. But since we did that, profits immediately went up. Then the other employees that were remaining, I kind of moved them around a little bit to where their job role was a better fit, and now the results speak for themselves. In the IT managed service space, there's a thing called utilization, and the best of class is 75%. Well, this engineering team is consistently hitting 92, 93% utilization, meaning out of the 40 hours they work, 93% of those hours are billable, which is unheard of in this industry. Why is it that I'm able to achieve those results? Not because I'm great. It's because I've taken the information about them and I've structured their role where they have the best opportunity to shine, where they love what they do. And I talk to them every single month, and they just love what they do. And as a result, they perform at a higher level. And so it gives you the keys to motivate them. If you want to motivate them, this is what you do. Here's the keys to managing them. It gives you all this information, and then it goes into emotional intelligence. Is this person emotionally stable? What's the potential of them creating conflict in my team? Maybe they're unhappy about something. It's going to expose if there's any unhappiness in their life, if they've got some sort of mental thing going on that I can help them with. And by adding this third assessment, guess what I get? I get about a 93% view of that person. So it goes into emotional intelligence, and then it goes into basically says, okay, interpersonal skills, gives them a rating, gives all the stuff that you need to make the right decision about this person. So again, you want to assess all employees before you make any changes about what I'm talking about here today. What I don't want any of you to do is to take what I'm talking about on today's call and podcast and go back and say, you know what, you need to go, go. You don't need to do any of that, okay? You need to find somebody that's a TTI specialist, myself included. I am one. So if you want to work with me, it's simply go to my website, johnpyron.com, click on book appointment. We'll have a 10 to 15 minute conversation about your company. We'll see if it's a fit. If we're not a fit, I've got lots of other coaches and consultants I can refer you to that would be a better fit. It's going to be based off, I'm going to have you do your own assessment. So that way I can see if you and I are a fit, because I'm not a fit for everybody, okay? And you want to make sure that you are a fit with your coach, your consultant. Now, why do I say that? Over the last 27 years, I've built 7 businesses. There's only been 2.5 years of that 27 years that I have not worked with a mentor or coach. Why do I work with a mentor or coach? I mean, I know how to build a business. I can build a business from scratch starting tomorrow, and I can build it into a 6-figure income in a very short period of time. I know exactly how to do that. Why the hell would I work with a coach or consultant? Simply this: that person's been where I want to go, And I would rather get there quicker versus trying to figure it out. Now, not all coaches and mentors cost money. Okay? I can be a coach or mentor to you, and you never have to pay me a single dime. All you got to do is plug into this podcast on a weekly basis, or go back and digest all the YouTube stuff I have, all the content that's out there on the web, and I could be your mentor, and it won't cost you a dime. But there are times where you're going to need that one-on-one attention to customize the strategies to your business, and that's where you bring in a mentor or coach. Now, here's the keys to a mentor or coach. Make sure that you have respect for them and that you're willing to do what they tell you to do. The other thing is, never, ever, ever, never, ever, ever get into a long-term contract with a coach or consultant. You've got to make them earn their money. So in my own business, I require 3 months minimum. That's it. It takes 3 months to get any result anyways. By the time I figure out where the bathroom is, almost 90 days has gone by. But I definitely have always gotten my clients' investment back in the first 90 days, and you want to make sure that your coach or consultant does that. Then it needs to go month to month. You need to be able to fire them, and they need to be able to fire you. And the only thing that's going to keep you together is they're getting results. If not, fire their ass, okay? There's too many of you out there as business owners. You have consultants that you pay a crap ton of money, and you're not getting the result that you should be getting, and you should sit down and have a conversation with them and confront their butt. Say, hey, this ain't working. You ain't paying for yourself. And you either part ways and find somebody else, or you continue with them, but definitely don't go alone without it. Next, on the path to freedom, you need to have a very rigid hiring process. Take your time. The rule of thumb is this: hire slowly, fire quickly. If you have identified an employee and you wake up and you're like, I don't like that employee, I hate them, they suck, I regret, I just dread even talking to them, that's a big red flag. And you should sit down and talk to them about that, because you may be the problem. May not be them. I know, because I was the problem in one of my businesses, and Phil Bristol had the guts to tell me. He said, you know what? I assessed all your employees. You got some unbelievable talent on staff. And he saved me for last. And he says, you know what? I found out what the problem in your company is. And I said, what? And he goes, you're an asshole. I go, what? He goes, you're a jerk. You think these people exist here to serve you. And while you're off playing golf and doing your thing, you come in like a seagull and you shit all over the place and you fly out. And they're left to pick up the pieces. And if you want to continue to have turnover and continue to have employees that flip you off when you walk out the door, then continue to do what you're doing. But if you want to change, if you want to truly get your freedom, then you need to flip that mindset and start serving them and understanding them and helping them be great about what they're doing in your business. And more importantly, you need to create a situation where they own, not equity-wise, they don't need to have ownership in the business, but they need to own the area of their responsibility, and you need to empower them to be great at it, better than you, and you need to listen to what their ideas are. And if you do that, John, I promise you, your business is going to grow dramatically, and you're going to have freedom. And he was right. That first year, that was a new business I started, and the first year I did a $365,000. The next year I did $685,000. The third year I did $1,037,000, and I did the first million with 12 employees. And then I really started embracing this content right here and working with a mentor. And the next year did $1 million again, but with 6 employees, because I was able to create 6 great employees, not just 12 average employees. Now, let me repeat what I just said. I was able to create 6 great employees, which made me a ton of money, instead of continuing to work with 12 average employees, which cost me money. So the profit went from 10.3% to over 30% to the bottom line when I started embracing the fact that my job is to help my employees be great. And that was my next step to freedom. So we go through 4 stages of freedom. Number 1 is the cash flow stage in a business. This is typically where you start, and It usually takes anywhere from 6 months to a year or more, depending on the business that you have, to figure out, how do I print money? How do I create money from scratch? And it usually takes about 6 months to a year to make that happen. And if you're struggling with that in your business, you need to reach out to me. It may not be me that I refer you to, because I got a couple of other really talented coaches that I've trained that are masters at improving revenue. So if you haven't quite got cash flow figured out, you need to get a hold of me. Again, go to my website at johnpyron.com, book a 10, 15-minute call, and we'll see, how I can help you out. Next is that system stage. So once you've figured out cash flow and how to print money and how to create cash flow, the next thing you want to do is put systems, processes, procedures in place that systematize that cash flow. You need to have referral systems in place that produce referrals consistently, not just organic referrals. You need to have anywhere from 5 to 10 lead generation systems that produce leads constantly without very little attention on your part. You need to have a very systematic process that once I get a lead, this is how I market to them. This is how I set an appointment. This is how I run that appointment. This is how I ask the questions I need to ask for identifying their needs. This is how I put together a proposal. This is how I present that proposal. This is how I close. This is how I handle objections. This is how I ask for referrals. This is how I follow up. This is how I qualify them. You need to have a sales system customized for your business so you can systematize that cash flow. And that's the second stage. And you need to have systems in place. How do I do bookkeeping? This is how I do bookkeeping. This is step by step. This is how I want things entered. This is my chart of accounts. These are the GL codes. These are the things that need to be put here. These are the things that need to be put in the cost of goods sold. This is how I'm going to measure my SG&A expenses, sales, general business expenses, and administrative expenses. This is how I want it entered into that system. And I want all the bookkeeping. My system is this. I want all my bookkeeping done by my bookkeeper by the 10th of the month. It needs to be done. All the statements are reconciled, everything. Then that bookkeeping goes to my accountant. My accountant takes a look at it, verifies it, produces me a monthly financial statement. That is a system. And whether I'm on the beach in Hawaii or whether I'm traveling around the world, that's a system that works. Next, what is my marketing system? What is the system that I have that works? Or am I just guessing at my marketing? How many of you spend hundreds of thousands or tens of thousands of dollars, hundreds of thousands of dollars on marketing that doesn't work? Well, you need to have a system for improving your marketing. And if you go to my website or actually go to YouTube and look up sales to marketing funnel or marketing to sales funnel, the talk that I gave to the Rockland Chamber of Commerce about a year and a half ago, it's an hour and a half long talk, and I explained that entire system and that entire process that you can implement in your business. Next, you need to have tax strategies, systems in place so you don't have to give it all to Uncle Sam. It's like a client of mine approached me last week. They're going to get a windfall of cash coming into their business. Now they got a problem. They're like, dude, we're going to get $85,000 that we didn't even expect. What are some of the things that we can do between now and the end of the year so we don't give the lion's share of that to Uncle Sam? And so you need to have strategies in place. One of the best books you can go out and get right now is a book called Deduct Everything. Okay, I don't recall who the author is off the top of my head, but just go to Amazon, look up Deduct Everything. Came out last year. It's current. It's up to date. You want to have tax strategies and systems in place so you don't have to give it all to Uncle Sam. Okay, we work our ass off as a business owner. There's no reason why I'll give the IRS their due, but I'm going to rip off the IRS as often as I possibly can. Now, not illegally, but if it says I can deduct it, I'm deducting it. And if my CPA says, well, that's going to create a red flag, you're going to be fired as my CPA. Because if it says I can deduct it, I'm going to deduct it. And you need to have strategies and systems in place for doing that. Next, you need to have a step-by-step exit strategy in your business, a system for exiting your business. And that needs to be very well thought out and very well planned. So that's the system stage. That'll take you anywhere from year 1 to about year 3 to get done, depending on the type of business that you have. Once you get through that stage, now we're going to go into the optimization stage. You're going to be running probably about $1 million a year at this point, And if you're not, then you need to go back and visit cash flow stage number 1 and system stage number 2 and make sure you got the right systems in place to produce the revenue that you can. Now, some of your businesses may not be able to reach $1 million. I don't buy that, given that we're a global economy now. Okay, there are widgets and services and everything that gets produced, you can sell globally. Okay, you just need systems in place for doing that. So the optimization stage is where we're going to be looking at a management team. We're going to be looking at how can I duplicate myself as the leader through other people that can optimize the different systems that I have created. Because there are certain systems and processes that are going to get you from 0 to $1 million, then you need to stop and go, you need to change your strategies and systems, because you cannot use the same strategies or systems in most cases to get from $1 million to 10. And it's going to require a management team to do that. And that's where you get into that optimization stage. Can somebody else run the business while I'm gone? And that's the optimization stage. And that's where my client, Kira, found herself at, as she was in the system stage trying to get into the optimization stage. And she had certain key managers in place, but she didn't quite know how to train them. And here's a big tip for all of you business owners. If you're going to put somebody as a leader or a manager in your business and you choose not to invest in professional management leadership training, you're cutting your own throat. Just because they're a great salesperson, or they're a great engineer, or they're a great finance person, or they're a great admin does not mean they're going to be a great manager. I know this from personal experience. Took one person, I said, hey man, you are an unbelievable operations manager. You're going to be the operations manager for my company. And it was the worst decision I ever made because I did not give him professional management training. He didn't know how to manage people. He sucked at it. And as a result, I had to fire his ass. Okay. Next, once I get through the optimization stage, right around the 5-year mark or more, depending on the business, now I'm going to go into the freedom stage. And the freedom stage allows me to test these systems. I'm going to disappear for a week. I'm going to disappear for 2 weeks. I'm going to disappear for short bursts and short periods of time to figure out what's broken in my business. And once I figure that out, then what I'm going to do is I'm going to fix those different areas that are broken. And that's what I did for Kira. I sent her to France for a month. I said, you got to go away. You got to give me complete control of your business. And when she left, we discovered a bunch of stuff that was hidden that depended upon her. And so while she was gone, I hired somebody to replace that. And I hired a couple of more people, and we grew her sales dramatically while she was gone. She came back, she's like, oh my God, you know, this is great. But here's the cool thing. She has those systems and processes in place forever. And she gets to benefit from that. Next, never keep good employees, ever. You want only great employees. And we already talked a lot about that. So you already know what to go do there. Last, or second to the last, is communicate effectively. Learn how to communicate to your people. Don't just tell them what to do. Give them instruction, tell them why you want it to do, what the deadline is, and what's expected. And then hold them accountable. Too many of us dump things on our employees, and then we get frustrated when they don't do it the way we want it done. Well, we haven't taken the time to train them. What do you expect? So take the time to train them. It's a lot of work. I am not going to lie. You're going to work your ass off to get to this point, but it's worth it. Next, we're going to provide professional training where it's needed. Okay, you need to provide that professional training, and I can't tell you how important that is to get them the training that they need and make those investments. Now, here it all is. You have all the stuff that you need. Go out and make it happen. I know this works because I've built 4 of the businesses that I built over the last 27 years. I achieved this. I mean, one of the best ones I had, I was like, what am I going to do? You know, I was playing golf 3 times a week, sitting in a cigar shop, and it only required about 5 hours a week of my time. And I was making lots and lots and lots of money. It was fun. And I ultimately said, you know what? My heart's no longer in this. I'm not maximizing my potential. And so I packaged that company to sell, and I sold it for 4.5 times its valuation. And they didn't even require me to stay because the business had been so systematized and so optimized that they didn't even want the company name. They just wanted the systems and the employees and the clients. And it was an unbelievable experience. You can do the same thing, because if you don't know me or my background, I was homeless when I was 17 and a half. I dropped out of high school. My family was very dysfunctional. I was heavy into drugs. I got myself cleaned up off of drugs, got my GED, served in the military, found my first mentor when I was 20 years old, and never looked back. And so if I can do it, you can do it. Again, if I can do it, you can do it. Just go out and find a mentor to help you. And by doing that, you're going to achieve the success and the goals that you want in your business. I hope this has been helpful for you today. Reach out to me if you have any questions. Just go to my website, johnpyron.com, click book appointment, and schedule time for us to chat for 10 to 15 minutes. You want to reference episode, I believe this is episode 104, for any of the resources that I shared on here. I will gladly send you the copy of the notes and any other resources that I'll send you a link to the assessments and all that other stuff that you need to be successful. And I want you to go out and take action on it. But more importantly, rate this podcast. What did you get out of it? Give it a high rating so more and more people can get access to this. Share this with other people. Here's a magical moment. Go and teach what I taught you today to your clients. Help them in their business and help them grow. You're a business owner. You can go and have that conversation with your client, and they're going to really appreciate you. So go out and make it happen, and we'll talk to you next week.